Oprah coming next. Once I establish this as a place of truth, oh yeah, watch. God's people ain't that few.
Oprah is obviously a saintly, godlike figure who's revered by all decent people. Why would she exclude you?
I really don't know.
Crossing over the next plateau.
Yeah. Would you say you lost your mind, sort of?
No.
Have such stressful jobs. How do you unwind to relax at some time?
I think their job is stressful. I think being the Wonder Bread representative might be stressful.
Not compared to a real job. I will not disrespect the people here that work hard.
This isn't a real job.
This ain't no real job.
Oprah Winfrey, a name once synonymous with power, honesty, and inspiration. But recently, her reputation has taken a hit as comedians, actors, and even authors have begun criticizing her openly. For decades, Oprah reigned supreme in the media industry, the undisputed queen of talk shows, capable of shaping or ending a career with just one interview. Yet now, it seems that her once unshakable influence is fading. Increasingly, prominent voices are coming forward, questioning whether Oprah is truly as genuine as she's long appeared. And these aren't just random critics, they include some of the most respected figures in comedy and entertainment.
I don't understand this person, so they're crazy. That's bullshit. These people are not crazy, they're strong people.
Oprah said that if Trump wins, you may never be able to vote again. That is
it's just so
the
ridiculous.
craziest thing when you go back and watch him on her show, where she was encouraging him to be president. You ever see that?
Now sees the opportunity, and that's why this is such a victory. Tomorrow, you will hear me doing the because it's a...
Katt Williams, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Whoopi Goldberg, Kevin Hart, and even James Frey, the author who once embarrassed Oprah on her own show, are no longer laughing with her. Instead, they're laughing at her, openly sharing what's really been happening behind the scenes for years. Let's begin with the most outspoken of them all, Katt Williams.
Oprah coming next. Once I establish this as a place of truth, oh yeah, watch. God's people ain't that few.
When Katt speaks, the internet pays attention. Recently, he's been directing strong criticism toward Oprah. In several interviews and comedy routines, Katt accused Oprah of being part of a Hollywood system that manipulates, controls, and suppresses black talent. He stated openly, Oprah isn't a saint. She plays the game, she just hides behind her charm and wealth. He's also alleged that Oprah uses her influence to promote certain agendas, claiming she acts as a gatekeeper, deciding who succeeds and who gets excluded.
Very first time we started our friendship, stayed up that first night and talked all night long. She has always been happier for me and everything that's ever happened to her.
For many fans, those remarks struck a nerve, since Oprah has always represented the opposite image, a woman known for helping, uplifting, and listening to others. But according to Katt, that's merely an act.
To do this in my business, I'm up here doing something that nobody else in this business has the balls to do. I'm telling you something that you need to.
He once joked, Oprah doesn't invite you on her show unless you already agree with her. That's his point, she doesn't host to support someone but to control their narrative. Some people dismiss Katt's claims as typical Katt behavior, bold, suspicious, and exaggerated. But when other comedians begin to echo his words, it raises questions about whether there's more truth to what he's saying. Take Dave Chappelle, for instance, his connection with Oprah goes way back.
Crossing over the next plateau.
Yeah. Would you say you lost your mind, sort of?
No.
Back in 2006, Dave Chappelle walked away from his $50 million Chappelle Show deal, and the media quickly labeled him as unstable. Oprah then invited him onto her show. On the surface, the conversation seemed friendly, but if you watch closely, something about Oprah's tone felt off.
People were saying, though, that you were on drugs, you lost your mind, you went into a mental institution. What is true, what is not?
Not on drugs.
Not on drugs.
Nah, not for years.
Okay.
No, I'm not on drugs.
And you weren't on drugs at the time?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm telling you, I was incredibly stressed out. Love is like a nutrient. And I was deficient on vitamin love.
Really? Were you really?
I'm on Oprah, baby. Oh, snap.
No, really, what was going on?
Man, a hero stumbles, for the cowards rejoice.
It came across as condescending and controlling, as though she wasn't trying to truly understand him but rather fix him publicly. Viewers felt Dave seemed cornered, and that Oprah appeared more focused on making a point than letting him share his truth. Years later, fans began to suggest that was the moment Dave realized Oprah wasn't just another host, she was part of the same Hollywood system he had been trying to avoid. Dave never openly criticized her, that's not his approach. But he hinted at it, saying that Hollywood will crush anyone who refuses to play by its rules. And when he mentioned their game, fans immediately knew who he meant. Now, let's move on to Whoopi Goldberg.
Make a movie, regardless of who you signed the deal with.
Yes.
Your job is to go and promote said movie. When they wanted you to come, and we've had this conversation, and I said if you had called me, I could have schooled you on what was
Her long and complicated history with Oprah goes way back. In the late 80s, they both worked on The Color Purple, the film that helped launch their careers. But behind the camera, things weren't as friendly as they seemed. For years, rumors circulated that Oprah and Whoopi had tension, that Whoopi disliked how Oprah controlled the movie's narrative and portrayed herself as its emotional core. At one point, people even claimed Oprah stopped inviting Whoopi to her events, despite being in the same city. Decades later, Oprah publicly said, "We're fine. We've always been fine." Still, their on-screen interactions tell another story. Whoopi doesn't fake emotions, she's known for being direct. On The View, she's often dropped subtle remarks about Hollywood's double standards and about those who claim to uplift the culture but mostly serve their own interests. Fans online frequently connect those comments back to Oprah. Then there's Chris Rock. Known not for drama but for honesty, Chris tends to call people out with his trademark confidence.
Own hair. You got a little extra piece right here, though.
I do not.
Whoa! I do not. Whoa! I do not. I do not. Whoa!
In both his stand-up routines and interviews, Chris has implied that Oprah embodies the side of Hollywood that demands conformity to succeed. He said things like, "Some folks make it in this business because they're talented. Some make it because they're obedient." That line struck a nerve, since when people talk about obedience in Hollywood, Oprah's name often surfaces. She's seen as the model citizen, the one who follows every rule and never questions the system that made her powerful. Notably, Chris once declined to do a tell-all interview with Oprah, saying, "I don't need to be saved on TV." In other words, he didn't want Oprah turning his struggles into entertainment for her audience. Now let's talk about Kevin Hart. He's usually careful with his words, but even he hasn't completely avoided this topic.
People throw millions of dollars in my face to do something I didn't want to do. And what? You've been offered, yeah. Oh, they're in the room.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Kevin has spoken about Hollywood politics and how certain figures control who gets access and opportunity. Though he's never criticized Oprah directly, he's hinted that he doesn't buy into the Hollywood family image she promotes. When Monique clashed with Oprah and Tyler Perry, Kevin stayed neutral, but fans noticed how cautious he was whenever he addressed it. His comment, "I wish everybody peace, but the business is what it is," said plenty without saying much. The message was clear: speaking against Oprah can end careers, and Kevin knows it. Even his silence speaks volumes. And then comes James Frey, the man who managed to make Oprah look vulnerable, even harsh, on her own platform. Remember him? He wrote A Million Little Pieces, a memoir about addiction and recovery that became an Oprah's book club pick and a national phenomenon.
Books I've ever read, but Oprah at one point touted it as she did their Oprah book club where it was she'd get these great books. But then it came out that the story wasn't a true autobiography to it. And he got ripped online.
Yeah.
Into a billion little pieces.
To say like his account was falsified and and then he had to go like on an apology tour and all this stuff, and it was like, dude, our entertainment is going to be
However, when evidence surfaced proving parts of the book were fabricated, Oprah felt deceived. Instead of addressing the issue privately, she brought James back onto her show and confronted him on live television, publicly embarrassing him in front of millions of viewers.
Your daughters came to you and said, look, this guy is doing to me what the allegations are against you.
Then I would have to arrest myself after I did what I had to do.
She confronted him, challenged his lies, and didn't hold back, while he sat there humiliated, visibly defeated. For years, that moment was celebrated as her standing up for the truth. But with time, it began to seem less like courage and more like punishment. In later interviews, James Frey admitted she wasn't looking for an apology, she wanted a spectacle. That line lingers because it echoes what critics like Katt Williams and Dave Chappelle have said: Oprah doesn't seek truth, she seeks control. And that seems to be the pattern across these stories. Whether it's Katt Williams exposing Hollywood's hypocrisy, Chappelle rejecting the system she symbolizes, Whoopi maintaining her distance, Chris Rock avoiding her influence, Kevin Hart playing it safe, or James Frey still carrying emotional scars, each points toward the same unsettling idea: Oprah's influence might rest on something far more complex, maybe even darker, than people once believed. Let's be honest, Oprah's reputation was once untouchable. She was the woman who gave away cars, built schools in Africa, and transformed pain into primetime success. She became Hollywood's moral compass, the voice that told audiences what to read, think, and feel. But eventually, people began questioning how much of that authenticity was real and how much was carefully crafted. Because time after time, those who opposed her seemed to see their careers quietly crumble: Monique, Iyanla Vanzant, even Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz, both of whom started their rise under her mentorship. When someone steps out of line, she's quick to distance herself. And that's exactly why comedians are starting to speak up. They're tired of being shaped by someone else's narrative. Through humor, they're revealing truths that mainstream TV refuses to show. When Katt Williams says, "They play with your image and sell it back to you," he's not only pointing at Hollywood, he's pointing at Oprah's entire brand. When Dave Chappelle warns, "Sometimes you have to walk away from money to keep your soul," he's calling out the same kind of pressure Oprah represents. And when Whoopi gives that skeptical look on The View, or Chris Rock avoids major interviews, their message is clear: no one can control culture forever. What's fascinating is that the internet is finally catching on. Old clips of Oprah's interviews are resurfacing, moments where she pushed too hard, made unfair assumptions, or turned people's pain into content. Viewers are now revisiting those videos and asking, how did we overlook this? Because back then, Oprah's opinion was considered absolute truth. But times have changed. The new generation doesn't view her as untouchable anymore. They see her as part of the same system that stifles authenticity. Maybe that's why a 27-minute compilation of comedians calling her out hit such a nerve. It's not just entertainment, it's reflection. A reminder that even the most powerful woman in media can't stay hidden behind her image forever. Every smile, every speech, every interview, people see them differently now. Maybe the kindness wasn't as selfless as it seemed, maybe it came with strings attached. So what does this mean for Oprah's legacy? Well, legends don't fall apart overnight. She still has her wealth, her influence, and millions of loyal fans. But the cracks are starting to show. People are beginning to recall not just what she gave, but what she took. They remember the guests she humiliated, the friends she distanced herself from, the careers she eclipsed, and of course, the comedians, the ones who've always seen through the illusion. They're the ones now calling her out. Katt Williams once said, "Comedy is truth wrapped in pain." And perhaps that's exactly what this story is, the painful truth behind a woman once believed to be untouchable. Because in the end, power always comes with a cost. And Oprah's cost might just be her reputation. So, what do you think? Are these comedians just resentful, or are they finally voicing what others have been too afraid to say? One thing's clear, the era of Oprah being untouchable is over. The laughter has become truth-telling, and that truth? It's got her name written all over it. This is Buzz and Drama, where fame meets reality and legends face the receipts. Stay tuned, because there are more stories Hollywood would rather you didn't hear.